One of the best ways to learn your instrument is to learn songs and then practice techniques and concepts within that context. Today we're going to look at how to deal with functioning dominant chords. And the song we're going to play is the perfect vehicle for this. It's Ray Charles's arrangement of the tune You Don't Know Me. So this tune is in the key of E flat, and it's got quite a few chord changes in it. So rather than talk about it, I'm just going to play it down and put the chord names up on the screen. You can play along with me to get the chord changes under your fingers. So this chord progression uses a lot of functioning dominant chords. There's two types. The primary dominant, which is the 5 chord of the key that you're in. So in this case, we're in the key of E flat major. The 5 chord is B flat 7. The other type is called secondary dominants. These are non-diatonic chords that are acting as dominant 5 chords. These are used to build tension and then resolve to other chords in the progression. So this progression starts on an E flat major chord and then right away goes to our B flat 7. That's our primary dominant 5 chord. Then it's back to E flat major and then to E flat 7. Now this is a secondary dominant chord and it's functioning as the 5 chord of A flat major, which is the next chord in the progression. So by making this E flat a dominant chord, we're adding some tension by adding the note D flat to the chord. This naturally voice leads and resolves to the major third of A flat major. And there's two other examples of secondary dominants in this chord progression, like when we go from C7 down to F minor, or when we go from G7 to C minor. Now it's important to understand that these secondary dominant chords still function as dominant 5 chords even when we're resolving to a minor chord. So to get started playing over these changes, we're going to use a little trick of playing a diminished arpeggio line over these dominant chords. We'll learn one simple line and then we'll move it around to fit over all of these functioning dominant chords. This will give us a little blueprint for how to cleverly address each one of these chord changes. Then we can start blending these diminished phrases together with some more simple melodic and bluesy phrases. So this lick starts out on the 3rd of the chord we're playing over and then builds a diminished 7th arpeggio off of that note. So if we play it over a B flat 7 chord, we would start on the 3rd, the note D, then go to F, then up to A flat, then B. That gives us our diminished 7th arpeggio. Then from here we start finding our way back to the chord we're resolving to. So we go from B down to B flat, then to A flat, and then here we slide into the G, which is the 3rd of our E flat major chord. So over B flat 7, we're playing the 3rd, 5th, flat 7, up to the flat 9, then down to the root, flat 7, and then sliding into the 3rd of the chord we're resolving to. So here's what it sounds like played along to those two chords. So now we can start moving this diminished line around to cover all of our functioning dominant chords. I'm going to play along to the backing track and I'm going to play it over every chord that it works over. I'm going to start by playing it over the B flat 7 to E flat. Then move it down to cover the E flat 7 going to A flat. Then to the C7 to F minor. The G7 to C minor. And since it's a diminished line, I'm also going to throw it over this diminished passing chord when it goes from A flat up to A diminished. I'm just going to use a similar line to address that chord since there's a long space there. So here's what all these licks sound like over the backing track, fit over each chord change. So at this point, this is really just an exercise to identify where these cadences happen and how we can use these licks. But to start making music with it, we have to start combining this stuff with some more melodic phrases. So now I'm going to play a simple solo just using the E flat major pentatonic scale. And I'm going to play a simple solo that goes through all the changes. And this will be kind of like a template we can use to start adding the diminished licks to it as we go further. Alright, so now let's play a similar solo, but we're going to substitute in our diminished line when we go from C7 to F minor. Here's what it sounds like to the track. Alright, so let's do the same type of thing, but this time, instead, we're going to play our diminished line over the G7 moving to C minor. Alright, so as you can see, there's a lot of ways we can use this lick throughout this chord progression. Let's do one more. We'll do it over the E7 as it moves to the 4 chord, the A flat. So we've got a lot of options of where we can use these types of phrases throughout this chord progression. And of course, we can start using it in multiple spots throughout the solo, and we can start spreading it out across the fretboard. So I'm going to play a couple of times through the progression now, and I'm going to use a combination of things, some melodic major pentatonic phrases, some more kind of minor-y blues type phrases, and then some of these diminished lines to address these functioning dominant chords. And you can hear how all this stuff put together really gives you a nice little toolbox for creating solos. So all the tabs and notation for the different solo examples and lick examples in this lesson will be available to download over on my Patreon site, as well as this backing track. I encourage you to go there and get the backing track and, practice learning some of these diminished lines and using them over these functioning dominant chords. And be on the lookout for where functioning dominant chords appear in other songs that you're playing. And you can certainly take these types of phrases and licks and use them in a whole multitude of different tunes. So until next time, happy practicing and take care.